Hello, welcome back. My name is Daniel White, also known as Dansky, and we're going to do another Dansky Live today. And this is going to be a lot of fun. We're doing something in Photoshop, but in all honesty, I kind of got a rough idea of where we're going to go with this, but we're just going to freestyle, and I'm going to use this as a really good chance to hopefully inspire you as well, because as I've mentioned in quite a few of these streams now, my drawing skills are not great. Doesn't stop me creating stuff, but they definitely need some work, and it's a really good opportunity for me to just kind of force myself to do this live and to just learn, adapt, and hopefully get some feedback from you. If any of you have drawing skills that are better than mine, which is, let's be honest, probably 90% of you, hopefully you can give me some tips as well. And yeah, we're just gonna have a good time. I am fully hydrated and ready to go. I'm seeing a lot of returning people. Ladies and gents, it really does mean a lot to me that you keep coming back for these streams. Honestly, we got Sema Mitzabitza Reese, hello. Algeria DZ, Tanya, Aerosolver, Kathleen, Yaniv, we've got Deadman, Sharif, hello, Mike, welcome back Mike, and we've got Popinder, who is going to be moderating. So, any spam, and you're gone. Okay, cool, let's jump into it. So, like I said, we're going to do Photoshop. We're going to Photoshop some stuff. Before the stream, I was playing around, just drawing some kind of like gems and things. And I've been playing a lot of Diablo 4 recently. It's a game that's very, how could I say, very, very hellish. Angels, demons, that kind of thing. And there's something called a soul stone, and it's like this really, really cool gem. So I had to go at drawing one. In fact, I'll show you that first. So we got this one here. So I had to go at kind of drawing this all from scratch, and it's fine, you know. There's a few things that don't quite look right, and then I had to go at making one a bit more realistic using some rock texture. So that's what I'm going to focus on now. And then maybe if I'm feeling brave at the end, we'll open up the Photoshop beta and try and stick this somewhere with some generative fill, a bit of AI stuff, and we'll give that a go and see what happens. Anything could happen, but yeah. And I've also got my tablet hooked up this time as well. I managed to actually find a free USB port. Well, not find one. I managed to create some space. So I've got my Wacom tablet now. So hopefully any kind of drawing stuff will be slightly less terrible. But there's no amount of tablet that can save my drawing skills. But it will make my life in Photoshop a bit easier. Hello, Danish. Reese says, I need to draw more Dansky. New goal for 23. Let's draw more. Yes, absolutely. It's one of those things that I don't do it very often, but when I do like photo manipulation stuff and I kind of cross that boundary into art, I wish I had those skills, because it would just be so much easier and it would make my work better. So, yeah, we do. We need to stick ourselves outside that comfort zone and just do it, and we will get better. Kapil says, hey Dansky, hope all is well. Yeah, man, I'm very, very good. Welcome. Right. Okay, first of all, we've got a new document, 1920 by 1080. And I've also got some rocks over here as well. So we'll come back to the whole drawing thing in a bit. This is great if you want to have a go at this, because you can literally use any rock you like. Just find a nice rock shape, and I've zeroed on this one because it looks kind of very soul stone-esque. So we're going to use object selection. I mean, white background. This makes it super easy, and we're just gonna, what are we gonna do? We're gonna mask that. Yeah, we'll mask that. We're not going to use any of the others. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this rock, and then right click, duplicate layer, and we'll put that into the stream PSD. And I'm going to convert this to a smart object. Now, why I'm doing this is because what a smart object will do is it will convert multiple layers into a single layer. So if I had like 20 layers and I converted them all, it would have them listed as a single layer. And I can double click to go inside that smart object, add a bunch more layers, save it, come back out of that smart object, and it still stays in a single layer. And I can then add smart filters to that layer. They're just, honestly, they're brilliant. They're like documents within a document. So, in fact, that's exactly what I'm going to do now. First of all, I'm going to rotate this around. Try and get this kind of right. I don't want this to feel too wonky, so I want to try and let's just drag a guide there into the middle. I sort of want to try and make the volume of each side feel kind of similar. And this top point here, I kind of need to nudge that over. So I think what I'm going to do is, as I said, we've got a smart object. I can go and apply a liquefy filter. Normally this would be a destructive application of liquefy, which means it would be permanent. I wouldn't be able to edit it or anything, but because it's a smart object, it's now a smart filter, and I can then edit this or delete it. So let's zoom in. Like, I started off just drawing it all from scratch, and then I thought, you know what, let's just use a rock as the basis, because that's what it is. It's like a big glowing rock gem thing, so it just kind of made sense if I was going for a bit more realism. And I'm just going to kind of try and nudge this. Remember, I want to nudge this over there. So I'm just using this tool at the top here, this forward warp, and just adjusting the brush size with the left and right square brackets. And I'm just going to really kind of sculpt this into a shape that I'm happy with. So let's try. It's feeling a little bit of a bulge on the right, so I'm going to just try and bring that over. Make it thicker here, push this bit in here, something like this. And if you do have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, and I'll try and keep one eye on the screen, one eye on the chat as always. Although if I do fail at doing that, then my apologies in advance. It's very difficult. Okay, does that look alright? What are we thinking? This kind of looks like a grace checkpoint from Elden Ring. If any of you have played that. Bit of a gamer, if you hadn't guessed. Gamer/geek. That is me. Right, okay, we've got these two little nipple-shaped things on the top. Bottom one, yeah, that's... Okay, that looks cool. And the reason this is great is because this is a rock, so we've got a lot of rough surfaces anyway, which is great. If I were going to draw this, which I did a little bit earlier, the great thing about this drawing it is that, you know, if you're doing it freehand with a mouse, it doesn't matter, because all that kind of, I guess you could call it, the jankiness of drawing this freehand actually gives you a more realistic look, whereas if the edges are all smooth, it wouldn't look as good. You can also do this with the lasso tool. So if you wanted to draw this, there we go, la 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 la, really quick. And then just fill that with a solid color. Maybe we'll do that in a bit, and we'll try something completely from scratch. But for now, what I'm going to do, first thing I'm going to do is, what do? Let's get rid of the color from this. We've got this very rock color. This is going to be, I think, possibly orangey red, very kind of fiery, flamey. It's JT says, my first Dansky stream, love it. Oh, brilliant. Well, in fact, you're loving it. We haven't even started yet. Oh, we're just getting started, mate. Excellent. Right. What am I doing? I do get distracted easy, though. Okay. Saturation. First, let's just take out the color. We're going to be applying our own color anyway. And this is, I think, with this kind of stuff, a really good tip anyway is to just get things looking good, black and white, before you start adding color, because color, this is what I do. I can sometimes work on the color too soon, and I create a lot of problems for myself. Right. Now I'm going to switch over to La Tablet, because this is going to make this part so much easier. I've got this kind of fringing around the edge, not really loving that, so I'm going to add a layer mask, a nice small brush, and I am going to use my very unsteady hand to just remove that manually. And it's good that it's not all that steady, because if I, you know, cut into it a little bit, it's just going to make that rock feel a little bit more believable. So that is just fine. I'm going to try and do this nice and quick. There we go. And that's why I cut this out with the object selection tool. I don't need to use the pen tool. Pen tool is great for precision. I would use it 1,000,000% if I was doing a product, or even cutting a picture of myself out for thumbnails and things. But because I'm going to be texturing this and destroying it, and it's all rocky and rugged anyway, it really doesn't matter that I'm freehanding it at all. There we go, like that. You could kind of use these highlights around the edge, maybe these lighter parts. I might keep it there, actually. It's just really with these darker areas. I'm going to need to try and add some shadows there, so that highlight is going to look a bit odd. Okay, going around the top. How would you reproduce it and become a broken stone? That's a good question. In fact, once we've created this, we could even try and break it. We could, that'd be quite fun, actually. Steady, Dan. Let's get the first bit done first to get that looking decent, if that's even possible. I'm kind of hoping that this does turn out all right. And as someone who isn't especially adept at drawing, the goal is to just give other people like myself hope that you can still make some cool stuff, even if particular skills need work. Okay, so I can hold shift and click the mask and that will hide it. So you can see that makes quite a big difference, actually. Let's close this down now. We don't need rocks anymore. Right. So layer 1. Right, first of all, I'm going to work on the contrast. At the moment, we've got a lot of grey, which is fine. But I want to create a bit more contrast between the shadows and the highlights. So I can do this with levels. So you can see I can bring the shadows up. And this is a great way to isolate certain parts as well. So you can see by dragging this up, it's really going to accentuate those shadows. Bring them out a bit more. Midtones, highlights. If I bring them up too much, you can see it just kind of gets blown out way too much. And we lose all that detail. It just becomes white. I don't want to lose the detail because, well, that's why we're using this nice rocky texture to begin with. So maybe I'll just bring it up a pinch. We've got a few bright spots here, but that's fine. I can work with that. And then just adjust the midtones. Nice. How did that? There, before. There we go. After. Brilliant. Fantastic. There we go. Fantastic. And again, because it's a smart object, even the levels, the hue, all that stuff, that can be applied directly to it, to the layer, and I can actually just drag these to the bin if I want to get rid of them. So we've gone from rock, which looks like that, to that, which is a good start. Well done, Dan. There we go. Take a break. Whew, this is tough. Dansky, you rock. Thank you very much. My English sucks. I can barely keep up. Okay, I'll try and speak a little bit slower. Guys, if the audio's bad, terrible, good, or I'm speaking too fast, just let me know. I'm quite happy to slow down. I just I get very carried away. I get very excited. Turned into a moldy stone. Dansky, what are you doing? We're doing artistic photo manipulation. I guess you can call it. It's a blend of photo manipulation and art. That's what we're doing today. And we may even do some drawing and a bit of generative AI if I'm feeling brave. But we'll see. Okay. Right, let's just go here. Get rid of a little bit more of this. There we go. Don't want to spend too long on that. Right. Okay. I think that's looking pretty good. Now I am going to introduce a little bit of color. Am I going to introduce some color yet? I'm going to try one thing first. When I did this earlier practicing, it didn't look great, but I wish I'd tried it beforehand. So I'm going to use the polygonal lasso tool, the polygon lasso tool. However the heck you say that, I've got no idea. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to use the regular lasso tool, and I'm going to just kind of do this very rough around some of these darker areas that kind of look like little mini craters. Now, this didn't work when I practiced it earlier. It didn't really look great, but we will see. What I'm going to try and do is add like a layer of crystal over the top, and I'm going to do that using a gradient. Now, this may look awful, but it might look really cool. So we'll see if I have more luck this time. And by the way, I've got the fan under the desk as well going, so if the fan noise does get annoying, if you can hear it, just let me know and I'll switch it off. But in the UK today, it is warm. So shout out to anyone in the UK, especially to the gingers who are who are struggling with the heat today. Okay. There we go. So I've made a selection of these kind of crater areas. I've got my new layer here. And I've got a brush. I need a nice, we want a nice soft brush. The hardness is set to 0, which means it's going to be nice and feathered, nice and soft. And I'm going to drop the opacity down. We'll go for 50%. Now, where's the light coming from on this one? So it's coming from this upper right side. Okay. So I need to try and mimic that on these. Actually, let's bump that up to 100. Let's go for 90. Something like this. And then this one here. And this is again, this is hard. Like I've got a bit of experience with 3D stuff, which definitely does it does sharpen your skills as far as lighting goes, lighting, shadows, and all that. But my goodness, I still find it very difficult. Oh no, I'm using black now. Yeah, it's really that was one of the biggest questions that I had, was like, how do they know where to put the highlights and the shadows? I'm talking about like really seasoned artists. And it's really difficult. It does just take practice. And as you'll see, I am by no means a master of this at all. Now what I've done, I should have mentioned this earlier, is I've clipped this layer to the rock. So I don't want any of these effects to go outside of the rock. You can see here they're branching out. Just hold Alt-Option on the keyboard and click between the layers. And you can see this arrow here denotes that it's now a clipping mask. Dansky, who's your favorite singer? I've got no idea. I quite like I'm more into orchestral soundtrack music, but then I'll listen to anything really. Right, so now that it's clipped, it's not going outside, but obviously these are very hard edged, they look a bit terrible. What I'm going to need to do is soften that. So let's go blur, Gaussian blur. And I'm just going to soften this slightly. And we'll go for 0.5. Here we go. Just a slight little bit of blur there to take that edge off. I don't know if that works or not. Maybe I need to bring it down a bit more. I got an idea. Something we could do is open up the blending options by right-clicking the layer and hold Alt-Option. And you can see if I drag these to the side, it kind of separates these pointers. If I do it like all in one, it just looks awful. But I can drag half, and if I do it very carefully, that could work. Nope. So always a case of grabbing the right slider. Yeah, see, this is kind of what I did earlier, and it didn't really add anything. Yeah, it doesn't really add anything, but I don't think it really makes it too much worse. But anyway, we'll park that to one side. We'll leave that there at 70%. It's not really causing too much harm, so we'll carry on. Right, let's add a gradient map. Now this is very cool, because what we can do is we can use this to map specific colors to the whites and the blacks in the image. So let's go and if we basically pick black and white, this is what we've got at the moment because we desaturated the color earlier on. So I'm going to change the black. Remember I said I'm going to have a reddish crystal, so we're going to go for a really dark red. You can of course go very bright, but I'm going to start dark and we'll add in colors to brighten it up. Do I want white or do I want... Could give myself a nice little head start here by picking a nice light color like this. This gives me like a nice solid base to work from, I think. Now again, it's applying this to everything, including the background. So let's add a clipping mask again, and that only now affects the rock. Yeah, that's not looking too bad. Okay, let's try something else now. Let's add another new layer. We'll go with solid color, and we'll add a nice punchy yellow. We'll clip that there. Obviously that looks awful, but this is where we can play around with blending modes, and this is where it gets really fun and can get a bit crazy as well. And that one there is probably a bit intense, but if I make the mask black and then use a white brush, I can actually start to brush in certain areas. Now, of course, I don't want to make the entire thing like this. So what I'm going to do is try out a brush that I haven't actually tried before. This is from Texture Labs. Great YouTube channel if you like Photoshop effects and things. And this is a brush from one of their recent videos. And that, oh, that's a smudge brush. Oh no, we'll come back to that. Don't want to use that now. We don't want to start smudging things yet. Okay, we'll use a different brush for now. We've got one of Kyle Webster's brushes. And let's bring that flow down. And then I can use this to sort of brush in some kind of fiery elements. And what I'm doing with this is I'm kind of just doing this one piece at a time. And if I do kind of a step and it looks a bit awful, I just undo and just try that again. And this brush is nice and distressed as well, which kind of matches the rock. You know, I think I'm going to get rid of that layer. It didn't work earlier, and I'm not feeling it now. It's not working. Go around some of the edges like this, just adding a little bit of this nice fiery kind of this fiery look, which is actually just coming from a solid color adjustment layer. We're just using a brush to kind of introduce that texture. In fact, I've got quite a few brushes from Envato Elements as well, which if you want brushes, honestly, just check them out. They've got bazillions of excellent Photoshop brushes. Now it's redstone. For transparent gradients, you've got to, when you're picking your gradient, it's a bit of a weird design choice in Photoshop, the way it does this. How do I get the, oh, they've changed it recently, haven't they? How do I get the settings? Photoshop, what have you done? There we go. Oh, no. Right. So in basics, you've got this one here if you want a transparent gradient. But basically, to change the opacity, you pick your colors on the bottom row. The top row is your opacity. So you've got to drop one side down to 0% opacity, and then that's how you would get transparency in your gradient. It feels a bit clunky, if I'm honest. Like, you know, there's even other Adobe apps that do it better, like Illustrator. It's all just on one line. You just select your color and then you can control the opacity, whereas Photoshop's like, yeah, you can have tabs top and bottom. I mean, I guess it means you can move the position of the opacity independently from the color, so there is that, but it's something that I never really kind of use personally. Do you know, this is looking alright actually. I don't want to sound too surprised, but this brush is pretty good actually. It's done a pretty good job adding some texture. Let's try and, oh no, we don't want to go too crazy. Calm down. We'll work up to that. Start small and build it up. Okay. And maybe at the top and bottom we can kind of add a bit more. Yeah, maybe a bit like that, and maybe the bottom as well. Make it a bit more fiery. Okay, let's take a look at how that... Yeah, nice. We can also play around with blending modes. I try and pick what I think is the best one, but then, you know, sometimes it's actually a neighboring blending mode that actually ends up looking a bit better. Okay, let's try that again. We're going to duplicate the yellow. We're going to scrub the layer mask. And we're going to add a new blank one. And this time I'm going to try a different brush. As I mentioned, I've got a bazillion here. These are all from Envato Elements. They're amazing. What would be a good one with a nice texture? Dust? Hang on, let's bring the flow back up. Ooh, that could look... Oh, wow, look at that. So this brush on its own, it looks like this. It's just like you stamp a cloud of dust. But because it's got that texture in there with bits of grey and bits of white as well, and it kind of fits here. You can rotate the brush, by the way, with the left and right arrow keys. I think I could probably get away with kind of stamping this in a few places around the edge, just to introduce a little bit of a glow and a bit of texture as well. Oh, that is lovely. Oh, that is brilliant. This is where it's going to go wrong now. I'm going to get really carried away. And again, all of this is completely non-destructive because we're working with masks. So if I do mess this up, you know, I can just delete this layer and start again. Yeah, don't get too carried away. This is something that I did quite a lot. I would get way too carried away and I would just put big blobs down. It will look awful. Now, I'm actually going to try and squish this super thin. This may or may not work. But let's see if I can get away with this. It's a bit cheeky. No, probably not. That's one step too far. Maybe there's a couple of spots like here where I could just, I don't know, stamp down a little bit. Oh, maybe there's one or two spots I can get away with that, but yeah, we'll leave it there. There's probably better brushes suited. So we're just kind of gradually building up this fiery effect. What else have we got? Cracks. Do I want to add cracks? Let's see how the brush looks first. Ooh, I wonder if that could... Do you know what? That could make this look more like a gem. Oh, Envato Elements is amazing. There's a link below if you want to check it out. Like, I'm affiliated with them because they provide an amazing product. Like, seriously, I use it every day. It's just... Oh, come on. Look at that. Look at that. Right. We are going to stamp that right there. Let's clip that. Oh, this is cool. You can tell I'm very, very happy with that. Let's try and move that around. Stamp again. No, I just want that top bit. There we go. We could just stamp this randomly. I'm being quite precious with it. There we go. We've got a nice kind of stamp. Now, I've done this white rather than on a color layer. So if I wanted to make this a color, what I could do is open up the hue and saturation box, check colorize, crank up the saturation, and nothing changes. But if I bring down the lightness, you can see it introduces color. And then you can adjust the hue slider like so. So I could go for like a yellow. And then I can go from white to whatever color I like using that slider. So we could go for a yellow, and then let's try a blending mode. Ooh, maybe hard light. Do you know, it might need to be lighter actually. I think the lighter colour might actually be the way to go with this one. Yeah, that looks kind of cool. Again, I'm going to just try the blending options. That's good. Right, okay, so basically I stamped a solid brush over. Blending modes are great, but using this blend if section, holding down Alter option and just dragging, what it does is it blends this layer with the shadows already underneath. This is a great technique if you want to apply a tattoo onto somebody's body, for example. If you just paste a black tattoo over their skin, you won't be able to see the skin, you'll just see the tattoo. But if you do this technique, you'll see their skin come through the black of the tattoo. In fact, you can apply that, you could do anything. You could apply vector shapes and graphics to people's body using the same technique. Very, very powerful for photo manipulation, this one. Okay, I think I'll leave that color at full strength, but this is the difference. Before, it's just boom, stamped flat on top. Now it feels like it actually kind of matches the image, and we've got those shadows as well. So let's just go back to the beginning. That's where we were with our rock. And this is where we are now. So it's going okay. It's going all right. Brilliant, right. I don't know why I've got these random layers at the top, but let's use them. What I'm going to do now is start adding some shadows and highlights. I'm actually going to use an exposure adjustment layer and see if I can get this looking good. And this is how I normally work. So darkening that just makes it look a bit rubbish. What I'm going to do is adjust the gamma instead. Yeah, I'll leave the darkness alone for now. And then we're going to brush this in with white. Not with that brush, we'll use a soft brush because we're going to be doing some shadows now. So we want it to look a bit better. Let me just check in on the chat. Sorry, I'm not ignoring you. I'm getting really into my to my rock. Oh, Ree says, yeah, I hate how Photoshop has the new gradient tool, even toggling to classic. Yeah, well, when I started using the update, I liked the new tool. It felt very intuitive. I just wish they added that to Illustrator. But clearly then it just totally threw me how you can now switch between them. It's just like, just have one gradient tool, make it great, make it work brilliantly, and stick with that. We don't need two versions and the classic version. Just have the superior version that is just better in every way. Some rays of light coming out from the rock splits might be cool, says Arkar. Yes, that is a very cool idea. Ah, the gradient tool is maddening to me ever since the Switch, says Mike. Yes. Typical love-hate relationship. Yeah, tell me about it. Can you maybe share the link of the brush collection from Envato? It's not any one collection. If you go to Envato Elements and just... I'll show you. I'll show you. This isn't me trying to plug Envato Elements. Let me just show you. I'll just whip this up. Yeah, if you do Photoshop work, it's just amazing. So, where is it? I think it's in add-ons. So if I type brushes, get lots of different categories. Have I gone past it? Where is it? Add-ons, there we go. So see more, and you can just filter by Photoshop brushes. And you got loads of them. There's some in particular that I find, yeah, these ones are all done by the same person. You can kind of tell by the font. Those are the ones that I've got installed that you're seeing me use now. Yeah, there's loads on here. I don't use all these ones. Bubbles, yeah, cracks, starbursts. There's a really good spotlight one as well. We've got fire. I mean, just look at it. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, they've got loads. They've got smoke. So if you are doing the photo manipulation kind of stuff, you can just stamp down smoke, stamp down fire, boom, you're good. So it's really, really useful in that regard. Right, where's the chat gone? Let me get the chat back. There we go. Boop. What are you trying to create, says Mohammed? A fiery soulstone kind of thing. And it's going fine, but we'll see what happens. Okay, let's try something else. So I've got this kind of crack here. Let's see if I can add... No, not a shadow. Can we add a bevel to that easily? We want a chisel hard bevel. This might not work. It's very difficult to see. I'm going to have to undo that effect so I can see what I'm doing. Depth. Yeah, let me zoom in. Global light. We're going to move the light over there. So what I'm doing here is adding a bevel to try and make this cracky texture have a little bit of depth to it. There we go, that's the one I want. There you go, you can see. It's just adding a shadow on that side, and I can actually try and blend this. Don't know how this will look. Nice orangey one there. Oh, okay, not too bad. Color burn, which kind of makes sense considering the fiery nature of the design. So maybe I'll just drop that down just a few percent like this. And you can see what it's doing is it's just making it look a little bit less flat. We're just giving it a bit of depth. Whoa! Outer glow. That wasn't expected. Let's just see if we can do something with that. I mean, that's pretty wild. It definitely makes it glow. I feel like that's kind of cheating. I wasn't expecting that. It does sort of, actually, it does lift the color quite nicely. Go on, let's keep that in then. Wasn't expecting that at all. That is the beauty of blending modes. Unexpected things happen. Right, now let's drag that back. Remember, we need that to blend as well. So it's a subtle detail, really subtle actually, but these do add up, these kind of details. And what has happened up here? Oh no, what have I done? Have I moved something by mistake? Hang on. Let me go back. I got no idea what I've done there, so we're just gonna have to remask some of those bits. Let's just go and quickly try and tidy up whatever I did then. I've got no idea what I did. You're probably watching going, what are you doing, Dan? Alright. Alright, let's just tidy that up. There we go. Down here. La la la. Okay. And a little bobbly bit on the end. Right, cool. Okay. Doctor Who design. Hi Dansky, do you use the Kyle Webster brushes? I don't use brushes loads. Like Photoshop is part of what I do, but I also use Illustrator and other stuff. I'm using them here, but not usually, no. When I do photo manipulation stuff, I kind of use the big brush packs of effects like these. I think that those sorts of brushes, they're great for people who do more kind of painting and digital stuff like that. Kind of invaluable really, but for me, I do less of that. I'm more about just, oh, I need to add a spotlight, so then I'll use a spotlight brush. Oh, I need some dust, so I just use a dust brush. So I use them kind of more to add effects to my work rather than say how an artist would. You know, oh, I need an oil brush, or I'm doing gouache or something. Yeah, let's get rid of that. That layer's rubbish. I didn't like that anyway. Right, okay, cool. Exposure. That's where I was. I got distracted. So let's go and try and brush in some shadows around this left side. Remember, the light source is kind of coming from up here, but then the crystal itself is emitting light as well, which is going to make everything 10 times more complicated. There we go. And this is kind of working quite nicely, actually. It's actually creating a little bit more contrast, as you can see here, which is great. And I'm going to do the same again. We're going to go exposure. And we'll see how this looks. We'll do one for highlights as well. And we'll just go and add these around that top right edge. Maybe. In fact, I can actually add these in a few places and it still looks pretty decent. It's a weird one, this, because, you know, normally you would have light coming from one particular direction and that's that, but because we've got light coming from kind of everywhere, including the crystal itself, it's a wee bit different. Subtle. But together, though, you can see they very kind of clearly make it much more distinctive and introduce more contrast. And I think here with this brush, this kind of needs to follow the contour a little bit. So let's try and liquefy this. Where are we? Show backdrop. And I'm going to just try and nudge this up. There we go. So I'm going to try and, rather than this just be a flat texture, I'm going to try and make this actually match the design. So here it's coming up. There we go, that looks a bit better. And it's very subtle, but it follows the contours a bit more of the shape. Right. I think now we need to add a bit more punchiness. We need to add like a fiery colour. Something. We need to make this crazy vibrant. And I did this really nicely earlier. I'm just trying to remember how I did it. Was it... Might have been color dodge. Let's try that. Squish it down. Remember, we don't have to use a circular brush. We can actually squish this down. And I want to use this to add some really nice fiery glows. Maybe one down the bottom. See, if I add too much, it kind of does look a bit rubbish. So I've got to do this sparingly and in the right places. So kind of around the edges here, where I've got the these red bits creeping in, I'm just adding a bit of glow around there. If I slap it there on the black, you can see it doesn't look great. So I'm choosing very carefully which bits I really want to bring out that fiery effect with. I'm kind of going off this. Those cracks, I'm kind of going off them a bit. I don't know, maybe they need to be more subtle. Maybe that. Yeah, colour dodge actually. I think that's a bit better. Yeah, we'll go with that. There we go. A few more little bright spots. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Will you add Turkish translation to your videos? I've not got that planned. I don't speak Turkish. I don't know anyone who speaks Turkish, and I just don't have the time to add lots of different languages, unfortunately. Arokya, hi Dansky. I do watch your YouTube videos quite a bit. Like to know how to. Do you have any tutorials on how to create fold lines in a packaging box? Apologies if it's not the right thing to ask here. It's a little bit different. There's a few different ways you could do that. Fold lines. I think the best way to create a fold would be to have I'd use a brush personally. I'd start with, if you're going to draw the fold, I would draw it with a hard brush that's darker, then do another line that's softer and a bit more blurred or feathered. You could blur that and gradually just do that, duplicate and blur. That's one way to do it. To get it realistic, what I would do is look at an actual fold that is similar to what you're trying to create. You can definitely do it with the brush tool, but look at a realistic fold and then try and mimic that with the brush tool. But yeah, I won't go too far into that now because I want to work on me rock. Right, I think we need some particles. We need some particles, and hopefully I've got a nice particle brush. Again, let's just grab a yellow. Now I'm not going to clip this layer because I actually want the particles to go outside of the object and around. Has he got one? Particles. I know they do a good particle one. I've got sparks. Nebula. Ooh. Ha! I mean, that texture is pretty much very similar to the rock texture I've been using, actually. So we could have used that from the start. Oh, let's try and pop that one on. We've got to, haven't we? It's actually got some particles as well, which is cool. Let's squish that down so it kind of fits the shape a bit more. Bring it in. Squish it down. I'm going to try and match this as best I can. There we go. Let's make sure I do this on the right layer. Oh, I mean that. I love the particles around the edge. I'm not so crazy about the... I'm actually going to click twice to double it up. I'm not so crazy about this middle bit. It kind of ruins everything I've done, but I love the way we've got the particles coming off the edge. It's like a kind of energy. I need to use one of these blending modes. Color dodge might be the best one. So, okay, at the moment I'm going to focus on just getting the particles outside around the edge looking great. We'll do that first, and then I can always sort out that middle bit after. So I'm just using this same brush rather lazily. You can see I'm just varying the size. It's kind of got the right shape for the most part. And that's pretty nice. And then I'm just going to use black to kind of remove some of this brush from the middle. Might keep a bit. And you can see, there we go, we've got some kind of energy coming off the crystals. And if I duplicate that and try changing the color to a red, how does that work? Overlay, that looks pretty cool. Let's make it a bit more yellow. Ah, there we go. Yeah, there we go. A little bit brighter. Yeah, no color dodge. That is looking good. So we got some particles, which is great. Now something else we can actually do is we can add a curves adjustment layer at the top of everything. Obviously excluding the particles, and we can just play around with the curves. So if you wanted kind of it to be brighter or darker, you really can kind of fine tune this with this default curve. I'm going to keep mine something like this, which is, yeah, there we go. A bit darker. I can switch to the red channel and I can actually use this to kind of make it a little bit more fiery. Go to blue. I can actually change the color. So if I move this in the opposite direction, you can see it becomes more yellowy as well. So very subtle in this instance, but it can have quite a big impact on your design. And then let's go back to the particles. Yeah, loving that. They're looking cool. And we need some glow as well. We don't actually have any glow. Now what I am going to do is start with an outer glow on the rock itself. And this kind of method for adding glow is fine. You know, it's okay. I have actually done a tutorial for how to do a better glow effect in Photoshop. But this one's fine here. Let's just soften that like this. There we go. Nice subtle glow. And I'm going to add a drop shadow as well, but instead I'm actually going to just keep this set to 0 for the distance, and it actually acts as another glow. Just got to make sure I get the right blending mode, just so it doesn't look too terrible. Ooh, well, that could be quite nice. Yeah, so there we go. We've added a bit of a glow around the edge as well. My goodness, this is looking rather intense. And let's go and add some more glow. We'll add this underneath. I wonder if I could do it with this as well. I could actually do something like that, and then let's try and feather that actually. And the great thing about using a brush like this for that feathering is you can see it's not like a perfectly round glow. We actually do have some kind of randomness and form to it, which is kind of representative of all these particles coming off. So I quite like that. Let's go and change that color. Maybe shrink that one down a bit. And then let's duplicate it. I'm going to do a bigger one now. Just covering a bit more space. Might change the color of that one so it's a bit more yellowy. And then use some kind of blending mode. It looks cool. need to feather that one a lot more. I think that outer glow is just a little bit too hard. Let's make that smaller. There we go. That's better. That's better. Right, more glow. And if you're adding glow, linear dodge add is a great one to use as well. If I just grab a very soft brush, this is a technique that I use and I've seen a lot of other people use as well. And you can use this to just add kind of a really subtle highlight on certain parts. Let's just squish that down. Yele says, what you making? A crystal. trying to make a crystal. Will you try generative AI like the final rock from space to hit Earth, or will you be waiting your own AI version? I probably won't use it. I'm not going to get too far into making it like fly into Earth and get crazy. I'll probably continue work on this. What normally happens is I'll continue work on this off camera. And it's generally a bit easier because I can focus completely on the work then, whereas obviously when you're streaming you're kind of trying to multitask and you know. So but I definitely will continue with this. I'll do something with it. It'd be quite cool to yeah, maybe break it in half like we talked about earlier. I mean, I could try and break it in half now actually using a brush. It's probably not a great idea, but let's try it anyway. I've got like a broken glass brush here. And this is why I love using these brushes, because I've got no idea if this is going to work. It might look absolutely awful, and it might look like the best thing ever. So... yeah, so I suppose you could use this to kind of have it sort of disintegrating. Let's see if I've got another one. Sand. Yeah, so this sand brush does add some quite nice texture to the edges if I use it sparingly. If I use a bit too much, it's a bit too full on. We should have taken guesses on how many layers Dansky would use. Oh, Reese, don't. Some of the work I do has just a ridiculous amount of layers. Like, it is absolutely bonkers. And I spend way too long making them. The amount of layers just... it almost makes my laptop crash sometimes. It's just... it gets pretty wild. Like, the PSD file size will be like several gig at least. And this is tricky as well because I'm doing this just completely on a grey background. You know, if I had a scene or something, it'd be a little bit... I don't really have any context, and that's kind of my fault for not giving myself any context, but I'm really just kind of focusing on just making this look good, to be honest. Oh, there we go. That's quite nice. Bit more energy coming out the sides. A bit random. it's not too bad. I think I'll leave that alone for now. That's looking fine, I think. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Is there anything that you would do to this to just make this look, I don't know, more realistic? I think it needs more glow. I think the lighting kind of, I need to carry on doing that, I think. Yeah, there, like that, even that, just duplicating that and punching up the lighting a little bit. There's just something about it that isn't looking finished. I can't put my finger on what it is. Speaking of laptop, Dansky, what system is your main setup? I've got a few different setups. This one is an M1 Mac Mini. This is just for recording and streaming in the studio. Normally I use a 2018 MacBook Pro. It still serves me just fine. So I'm just going to carry on using it. It's a brilliant bit of kit, actually. Considering it's, what, 5 years old now, it's holding up well. Yeah, my main computer always has to be a Mac. They're just less problems. But I do have a desktop in there as well, or Windows. So you know. There we go. That's what it was missing. The lighting. And this technique, I think I said before, you know, just grab a color, linear dodge, add is a great way to just add glow effects just by brushing in just boop, little blobs of color, and the blending mode will blend over an image. So if I had like an image in the background now, that linear dodge would blend over it. Yeah, this is cool. This is cool. I mean, that makes a lot of difference. Look at that. No lighting. Lighting. Wow. Yeah, color dodge, that's a good one as well. I could bring this down if it's just a bit too intense. Let's call it Soulstone. Very Diablo inspired. If anyone is playing Diablo 4 at the moment, or maybe it's just me, great game. In fact, let's make the background a bit darker. Let's see what that does. Might make it just pop off a bit more. Oh, that looks better already. Oh, okay. Okay, we're going to go with an almost black background. Yeah, not sure about that one. Do you know, this has turned out rather well, actually, considering where everything started. If you've been here from the beginning, and we started with that, what was it, a rock? There we go. So I'm just going to bring that up slowly. Subtle blur. Now you can see with the darker background, that kind of highlight becomes maybe a bit too pronounced. So we'll dial it back just a little bit. Oh, that's all right. That's okay, I think. What are you thinking? Sharif says, wow, that looks amazing. Oh, okay. I feel validated. Excellent. Whew. Oh, I need a drink. My goodness. I mean, the reason that means a lot to me is because I don't do this sort of stuff often. Like I do photo manipulation for fun, but it's only kind of when I'm feeling really inspired, or if it's like a Benny Spooky Edit War and it's like, oh, I want to make something really cool, and then it's suddenly like, oh wait, you're kind of, I don't know, you're sort of lacking in those skills, It's like, yeah, there's a lot of skills that I don't really practice. I don't do this very often. But then a competition like that comes along, and it's like, all right, let's brush off the cobwebs from the old Photoshop skills and see if we can actually make something half decent. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to do this more often. I really would. Okay, that's looking pretty cool. Now I think the background as well is black, which is fine. But let's add a delicious gradient in there just to kind of really help sell this. So I'm going to start with this one, just the default. Apparently brown to white. I don't know. Have I changed that? I might have changed that. Brown's fine though. That's cool. We'll go with like an orangey color. We can always change it. And I'm going to set this to radial, dither. Yep, that's the correct way round. And then it adds this gradient here. Now, at the moment that is circular. Can I change that though? No. Huh. Do you know what? I'm going to make my own. This is a technique that I love using, and I do this for all my thumbnails, my work, and it's like a staggered gradient. So start again with the default brush. I'm going to squish this down. Normally I would do a kind of a circular shape, but because my crystal is very specifically oval, pointy, I'm going to try and match this as close as I can. Let's squish it down a bit more. Squishy squish. Okay, that's pretty cool. Then what I would do is change the opacity to somewhere between 10 and 20%. Now if I brush this, you can barely see it. It's really subtle. In fact, I'm going to use a mouse for this. And what this technique involves doing is starting from the outside. This is going to be massive now. So I'm going to get this to fill my entire canvas. That's the maximum size. Right, so I'm going to click, and you can see it's going to add that at 10%. I'm then going to click again if I want to make it more pronounced. And then I'm going to bring the size down and click once. Another 10. That's a bit too much, so I'm going to undo it. And I'm just going down and adding a click, and then as I get closer to the object in the middle, I'm going to start clicking a bunch more. And what this does is create this really nice staggered glow. Now that is too pronounced, but it doesn't matter because I can actually go and just change the color or the opacity. So if you get it too pronounced, it doesn't matter. The important thing is that you get the stagger. And that looks pretty cool actually. And I could even add a different background color. Green, why not? No, just kidding, that's awful. So if I wanted a bit more of a kind of brown color rather than just black, and that brown's going to help blend the colors a bit more. This is really cool actually. Totally random by the way, but this is cool. And you know, I could take this and do anything with it. I could grab another rock and like jam the crystal in the rock, and but yeah, we can play around with this till we get a nice balance. Let's get rid of that one. Huh. Right, I was going to try and break it, wasn't I? Have I got any brushes to break it? That is looking dramatically beautiful. Thanks, Josie. Rock with cracks filled with lava. Yes. Reese says a bit of a rocky start. Phil K. Hey Dan. Hey Phil, we're doing Photoshop. You get to critique my work today. I'm making a fire, a soul stone from Diablo. It's a video game. Kind of, it's giving me Lord of the Rings vibes. I'm getting like, you know, Eye of Sauron vibes from this. Okay. Oh, do you know what? I've got a really cool idea. I don't know if this will work. Might not work. Let's try it. Okay. Just to show my appreciation for everyone joining the stream, I'm going to try and etch some of your names into the stone. There we go. I've got a font. Ah, yeah, I was using this earlier. Hexed. Again, Envato Elements. Let's see if I can get this looking decent. And I can try and put some names, some runic names on the stone. That'll be a nice little touch. Okay. We're going to start with Reese. Look at that. Look at that. In like all runic letters. I love it. It's very thin, so I will need to chunk the font up a little bit. Okay. Right, you're going to go there. Popinda's going on there because she is the moderator. Although I've not heard from her in a while, so I'm guessing that she's off looking after our children. Our two little nightmares. Okay. Josie. You're going on as well. Let's pop you here. Who else wants to go on the stone? Mike. I think Mike wants to go on. Mike, you're on the... You are on the stone. Let's pop you down here. Let's try and vary the size a little bit as well. Where should we put Mike? I think Mike... Put Mike up here. There we go. Mike, you're up the top of the stone, mate. Sema, you're going on the stone. Put you near the top as well. And switch up the angle. Maybe we'll just kind of have it coming off the edge there, so it looks like these letters wrap around the stone. Sharif, what about Sharif? Exactly. What about Sharif? Let's get Sharif on there. Sharif. Okay. Anyone else? I'm going to do a couple more. I'm not going to be able to fit everybody on. Unfortunately. Alright, just shout in the chat if you really, really want to go on the rock. Just, you know, shout out now. This is last call. Your name is small, but you are at the top. The archaic way. Okay, archaic. We're keeping it to one words. I don't know what we've done. There we go. One words, single words. I can't speak. Archaic. Archaic. Very fitting for this archaic design. What about Hamza? Okay, right. That's it. Hamza and Javier, you are going on. Right, Hamza. Got to mix up the size a bit, so we're going to make Hamza a wee bit bigger. We need to find some empty space as well. There we go, Hamza. You can go at the top. Congratulations. And Javier, I'm sorry, but I need to put someone or something down the bottom. And that is going to be you. Although, if I flip it round, you are at the top. So just rotate it. Okay, so we've got a bunch of names. Hopefully this will look kind of cool. So first up, let's pick one. Go down here. Change the color. We'll go for black. And then I'm going to add an outer glow. We'll make the glow yellow. And change that blending mode to linear add. Now I need this to stand out. I really do. Not like that. Woo! Okay. So let's just... Something like that is probably about right, actually. We'll go with that. What I can do then is right-click on this style, copy layer style, and then paste this over here onto all of them. So it kind of blends in a little bit. And then as I mentioned earlier, we can convert all of these to a smart object. So now they're all listed here. If I need to go and change the text, we've got the layer names. And I could try and blend these in. That looks kind of cool. Color dodge. Oh, look at that. Yeah, very nice. But before I do that, I'm actually going to liquefy them. Now, because it's a smart object, I can apply that liquefy filter to the entire thing. I can never remember which way round to do this. Is it behind? Yeah, that'll do. And then Hamza, we're going to bend that, just curve it a little bit like this. Mike, you're coming down here, so we're going to squish that up. So I'm going to try and make these follow the contours of the rock a little bit. And this doesn't have to be super precise. It's just going to make them all just feel a bit, just not completely straight. So you can see here, we're going to bend that one round. And Popinder, you're going up there and then coming down here. I mean, I could even actually puppet warp these as well. I'm kind of liquefying them. But you could puppet warp some. Let's see how that looks. Oh, that's fine. That doesn't look too bad at all. But if you want to puppet warp them, you've got that option here as well. And you can add pins in and move them around. And that's great for bending around corners. But I think this looks pretty cool. I really like this. Yeah, look at this one. Look at this one. Hamza at the top is literally on fire. I love that. Sema, you've kind of disappeared. So what I can do is go back into the smart object and I'll try and pull this down. Save and go back. And it should update that change. There we go. We can see it a little bit more. It's meant to be very, very subtle. Archaic. That one looks a bit weird. So I'm going to move this down. Save and close. There we go. We'll get you on the fire line like that. So I'm just hopping backwards and forwards and just saving that PSD. And then because it's a smart filter, I can go back in, I can liquefy this a bit more. So Sharif, you just need a bit more of a curve like that. And there we go, that's pretty good. So if we get a better look at this, we've got the names, and we've got some people on there. Now, it's a little bit crisp still, because it's a font, it's perfectly crisp, so I will add probably 0.1, maybe 0.2 pixels of blur, just so it blends. I don't want everything looking perfectly sharp. We could even try playing with the blending modes. And hopefully you're enjoying this stream. This is a bit different to normal. Like a lot of the stuff that I'm demonstrating, you might not want to create a rock. These techniques are the same techniques that I use to create like all sorts of different things. So, you know, today it's a fiery rock, but it could be something completely different. There we go. The names are nice and subtle. I really like that. I don't want it to be too obvious. I could try and change the color of the whole thing. This might look awful. Could look worse. Yeah, there's a little bit of flexibility there, but something else I'm going to try is what I'm going to do is select everything and go copy merged and paste, and this gives me a flattened version of the design. Let's go camera raw filter. I'm going to make this one a smart object and then go and click this up here. Josie says, now we have a lav stone. Yes, we do. This is our stone with some names etched on it. Now, first of all, because I've created a lot of these effects and things and we've got the blur from scratch, you know, if this was a camera, you'd get some noise or some grain. So I like to just add this bit of texture. You can see there, I don't want to go too wild, but just I think 10 is good. I love a bit of grain, just makes it a bit more realistic. Vignette, I don't need to play around with that too much because I've kind of created my own vignette using that staggered brush technique. Color mixer. So as you can see, we can get quite creative with this. We can still go and change the different colors even after we've already made it. So I might go here and just bring that this way. Makes it a little bit more subtle. We don't know, so it's mostly the top 3 sliders that are going to make this the biggest difference here. So I could bring this to the left a bit. And we could go full pink. What else have we got? We've got temperature. So okay, so we could turn this to a purple crystal. So there's quite a lot of flexibility, and in fact this camera raw filter settings is very powerful. It really is. These ones here, texture, clarity and dehaze, can be brilliant. If I zoom in, we can crank up the texture and you can see it really does kind of sharpens it up to some extent. Clarity is another good one as well. As you can see, it doesn't make it look great down the bottom here, so it's use this one in select instances. And haze or dehaze can kind of literally do that, removes any kind of foggy haziness, or you can turn it the other way to get more foggy haziness. So it kind of depends what you're going for. I might just add a little bit of that. Yeah, that's pretty good. We've got curves, which we've kind of done already, so we don't need to mess around with that too much. But as you can see, you really can just, you can play around with it quite a lot. What else have we got? Color grading. Yeah, I don't really want to mess around with that. Yeah, we could change the color of the shadows. Oh, maybe a bit actually. I might just warm it up a bit. And if you're not sure what any of these do, honestly, just drag the sliders around until you get something you like the look of. Click OK. And this is now a camera raw filter layer. So I can just turn this off and back on. Now, if I make any changes to the document, what I'll need to do is just go select all and copy merged again. Go into this and then paste in that new version and then save and close. And when I'm doing this, as I'm iterating on my work, I usually end up with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, just loads of layers up here. And I just keep the top one selected. Once I've added in the new artwork and then save and close it, it then updates all of those camera raw filters in that smart object. This is kind of like a finishing touches layer at the very end of something, so I wouldn't necessarily do that here. Okay, right, we've got about, well, we've got a bit of time left. Should we try the old generative AI stuff? Because I think I'm happy with that. I could spend another 5 hours working on this stone, get it looking even better, but I think that's good for now. Let's open up the beta of Photoshop and see if we can. I'm going to copy that actually, just in case I mess it up. We'll open up the beta version with what's that feature called? Generative fill, and we'll see if we can generate a background, because that is the one thing that is missing. Has it just loaded 2 versions? Oh no, I'm going to crash the whole thing. Asteroid Inferno Blaze. You know, I do love the word inferno, and I do love the word blaze as well. I hadn't planned on adding some text, but I don't know. Maybe we could make this a thing. Hello there, says Eamon. Hello, welcome. Sharif, try the purple, it's better. Oh no, I'm sticking to me fire. Great learning today, Dansky, thank you. Thanks, Josie. Yeah, if you enjoyed this, if you didn't, if you did, please do let me know. If you thought it was awful or brilliant, you know, all the feedback just makes these streams better. I think I've actually broken Photoshop now. It's not a good start, is it? Right, let's close that one down. Oh, hello, there's me on the green screen. Okay. Right, have we got the beta? Okay, we got the beta. Okay. Right. Oh goodness, I'm gonna have to sort out this UI. Alright, hang on. I've not really opened this much, so let's get rid of all this. Get rid of that. Go away, go away. Properties. We'll put that there. Color, swatches, and gradients. Right, let's get rid of all of that. Cool. Okay, so I think I'll make a new document. I'll make a new document for this one. We'll call this. I think we're going to have to call this AI, aren't we? AI. Embed color profile and save. Okay. Right, let's copy this into here. And now I'm going to try and generate something. Now, I think I know how to use this. Do we select everything and go generative fill? Agree, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And now we've got to type something. So let's type hellish landscape with molten lava everywhere. I've got no idea what this is going to do. This could go really well or really badly, but we'll see. It's generating something. Mike, I'm curious to see how it generates backgrounds. I know, me too. I've barely used this. I've used it like once or twice and not really had a proper play around with it. I've been starting in Leonardo or Midjourney and then use it. Oh, okay. That's all right. That wasn't too bad. That's better than I thought. Ooh. Okay, so I get to pick and then I can generate more. We'll do a few more just for fun. Which screen recorder are you using? OBS for the stream. And then use generative fill in Photoshop to expand the scenes to fill. Ah, okay. Okay. Yeah, I think I quite like this one. We'll go with that one. Oh, I can mark it. Good result. Excellent. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. So we can turn this on and then change the blending mode to yeah, blending that into the scene is going to be quite difficult. So I'm actually going to have to go and grab the layers, I think. So let's put these in a folder. We'll call this, no, what's it called? Soulstone. Kind of makes sense having the names on it. Your names now belong to the stone. We'll duplicate that in there. Okay, so we're bringing in a layered file. And I've got the blurs here as well, so I can actually turn off that background layer and have this like that. And let's convert that generative layer to a smart object. Now I want to blur this as it gets further away from the camera. So I'm going to go tilt shift. And I think we'll start in focus here. kind of where the crystal is. Oh, maybe actually. No, I might start down here. Have the crystal in focus already. And then we'll gradually move this back. Now this first line here, everything between this line and the circle pin, that is going to be in focus. So if I crank this up, you can see everything under this line is perfectly focused. Between the solid line and the dashed line, that is going to graduate from 0 blur to 175, which is what I've got set here. Everything beyond the dashed line is only going to be 175 all the way to infinity. So that's how this works. So if I move this up, I want that graduation to happen over a larger distance. And if I bring this down, it's going to blur the foreground as well. Now 175 is clearly too much, so let's make it something more realistic. That looks kind of cool. Yeah, that could work. You can check high quality if you're a cheeky sausage. I'm going to be a cheeky sausage. We'll go with high quality. I can never see the difference, but it just makes me feel better about myself. I go, yeah, I'm high quality. We'll go with that. And you can see that blur really makes quite a difference, and it adds a lot of drama to this as well. Could we add some rocks in the foreground? Yes, we can, because we are using the old generative AI stuff. So let's, I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to lasso tool this like that. I kind of want something in the foreground that I can blur that just helps kind of reinforce the depth. So let's go for some molten rocks. I don't know what you call it. Dried lava? Dried lava rocks? I don't know. I'm not a lava volcano specialist. We'll try that. We'll see what we get back. It could be interesting. Hello, John Steed. Welcome. Welcome, sir. Josie, it was also pretty awesome that you have your own creation, mix it with AI, then manipulate. Oh, that's not too bad. That isn't actually that bad. That's a good one. Ooh. Ooh, give me some more. I'd like them to be a bit spikier, but that isn't too bad. Yeah, Josie, with this one, it was kind of really just off the cuff. I'm going to try and create like a gemstone, soulstone energy thing. I didn't really think beyond that what I was going to put that in, but that is better. That is a better one. I like that. Yeah, that's more like it. That's the one I want. Okay, cool. But yeah, so I'm literally just playing around with this. I barely used this feature at all. Now the thing with this one is it's in the foreground. We'll call that, let's call it foreground rocks. Foreground rocks. And we'll call this background. And like I say, this is the kind of thing that I'll probably carry on with later on off camera, and just try and turn this into like a finished thing. I've just had another idea actually. We'll do one at a time. Right, let's levels that a little bit because they are a bit too bright. That's the wrong layer. So let's turn the rocks into a smart object. We'll adjust the levels. We'll darken them. It's got a bit of a thingy-madoodah around the edge, but that's fine. We can just brush that away. I could go and cut this out properly, but we'll do this just really quickly. It's just getting rid of that hard edge. You can't, once I get rid of that edge, you can't really see it. I mean, that doesn't look too bad. They're a bit cool, so I'm going to need to warm those rocks up, and I'm going to use a color balance adjustment layer for that. So we'll introduce some red and some yellow, something like this. And we are going to have a glow coming off. Oh no, we've got a glow coming off of the stone. So I would need to add highlights. My goodness, this is where the time kind of, this is a real time sink, adding highlights. Yeah, I'm not going to spend any time actually adding highlights right now because I would need to cut those out properly. But yeah, you could add some highlights there and make it feel more realistic. But what I am going to do is smart object this again, and I need to match the blur from the background, because even down here you can see there is a subtle bit of blur, so I just need to match that. So we'll go with field blur. This will apply blur across the whole thing. It's probably a bit too blurred. I mean, I could have them like fully in the foreground, kind of like you're peeking over the rocks. That's kind of cool actually. Or I could bring it down and have it fit more with the image here. How does that look? Let's zoom in nice and close. Yeah, that's not too bad. Maybe we'll go with 2 pixels. They kind of match. I've just noticed though they're a bit, they need to be more purple like the rest of the lava. So let's go into that smart object and we'll change the color balance. We'll go to shadows and we'll just try and introduce a slight bit of purpliness. See if this works. There we go. That blends a little bit better. I mean, I'm quite surprised actually. I whipped that up pretty quickly actually. Yeah, it looks okay. Looks okay. We could actually darken the background more as well. So if we add we'll go with levels, because we blurred it, but we can actually darken it as well. And what that's going to do is put more focus on the magnificent soulstone in the foreground. Does feel like it's fighting with the stone a bit. I don't know if I need to maybe adjust the blur a bit more. So let's bring it down, and this will blur some of this part. And I will need to go and then try and match the blur on the other one as well. So let's bump this up. Maybe 5. And let's try making the stone a bit smaller. Molten boulders, says the thesis. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty wild. It is it's an interesting feature. That is definitely for sure. Yeah, there is quite a lot I could do with this. There is a lot I could do with this. I'm kind of getting ideas as I'm going. So what have we got? We've got the rocks here. I could actually just duplicate that, and I think I might just have one in the foreground, but make it really big, like this. Let's move that over there. Or do I want that one? No, I think I probably want... we'll try this one. We'll try it. So this one's going to need a lot of blur. We'll go with 30. So it's going to really, again, just sell that depth and put the focus on the stone itself. And let's just get rid of this. A little kind of glowy bit around the edge. So there we go. This rock is even closer to the camera. There's the other one. Let's try the other one. Oh, that could look quite cool. If we scale that up, make it massive. This blur effect is pretty heavy on the old computer, so it's struggling a little bit now. Very intense. Yeah, there is part of me that wants to cover part of the stone a little bit. I don't really want to like embed it. I could try and embed it, but I think that would take a while to do properly. But if I can make it cover part of it like this. So let's pop that in front of the stone. I might be able to add some glow effects over the top. Let's try that. No, I don't really like that. That looks a bit rubbish. I do like that though. That's pretty cool. Watch some other video use this beta feature and it's way too good for a beta, and what it can do is already insane. Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty interesting. Orokia says, thank you, Dansky. I have to go as it's going to be midnight soon and I need to get some sleep. Sleep is good. Thank you again. It's a brilliant stream. Oh, amazing. Amazing. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I got to be honest, it's gone all right. Considering it was totally unscripted, pretty much, it's actually gone okay. Right, I think we'll do a little bit more. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I can add to this that would just make the whole thing better. I don't know. If there's anything that you think would make it look better, just honestly shout it out. I mean, I've got this camera raw filter layer, so... Oh, I know what's going to make this better. I know what's going to make it better. Okay. All right, calm down, Dan. Calm down. Right. Brush time. Oh, good. It's pulled all my brushes through, which is great. No, it hasn't. No, I don't have my brushes. Oh, where's my cloud brushes? Oh, Photoshop, why have you done this to me? Okay. Basically, I was just going to try and add some like foggy atmosphere or whatever, but it's fine. Okay, let's just try this without. We'll try it. We'll test me. So let's just add a bit of haze into the background. And then we'll try and add a wee bit into the foreground as well. Oops. Oh, that bar is really annoying. Like, get out the way. Go away. Right, how do I hide that? Go away. Maybe we could warm this one up a bit. That is quite a lot of haze. I guess you could say it's like representing volcanic gases and things. Sure, why not? Yeah, I think we'll keep the one in the background a bit more pronounced. Oh, let's just scroll the chat down. Doo-doo. Mike says, looks great. I'd personally bump it up a touch so it feels floatier. Yeah, you're right. I think it's a bit low at the moment, isn't it? But then I like the fact it's central. I don't know if I should have made this portrait rather than landscape. Yeah, that might have been the way to go. Let's save it and we'll try rotating it. I might break the entire thing. I feel like if it was portrait, it would give me a lot more space to kind of float it in the air. Please don't crash. Please don't crash. Okay. Right. Now let's try and rotate absolutely everything. Hopefully this is going to work. In fact, the ratio is wrong as well. So what do I want? I want a 3:4. So what would that be? That's absolutely ginormous, but we'll divide that by 2. Divide that by 2, which is still ginormous. It's fine, we can scale it up. I'm using smart objects for a lot of stuff, so those smart objects retain the information of the original image. So if you are working with a high-res image, you can scale smart objects up and down. Oh no, it's got that weird thing. Okay, right, you don't hold down shift. Oh, I really don't like that. I don't like that feature. You know, like where you used to, literally for like forever, you hold down shift to scale objects, and then they kind of flipped it around the other way, and it was just like, why? Nobody asked for this. Okay, now let's make the soulstone smaller. Make it a bit floatier. And my rocks. I've lost my rocks. Where have they gone? Foreground rocks. We're going to have to squish you down, I think. They've gone out the scene. Okay, there we go. Let's put them down the bottom. Oh, they're tiny now. Oh, that's no good. That's no good. Right, we're going to have to make that bigger then. Maybe something like that. That could work. I think I've kind of created problems now by changing it, but it's fine. It's all fine. Okay, let's just feather that edge there. I do not want this hard edge. I always get those when I'm doing Photoshop stuff. Background, foreground rocks. Right, they need to be... I'm going to blur these a lot more now, because the whole composition has kind of changed. So... we can fill the rest of the area with AI too. Yeah, we could do. We could do. Like I said, it's the kind of thing you could spend so much time doing. Right. Let's go and add. See if we can add a bit of glow. Rotate this to match the angle of the rocks. I'll just try and add a bit of a glow there. Again, we're using that staggered glow technique, and blend if. I'm going to try and blend that onto the rocks. Yeah, that's okay. Boom, boom. Do I change the color? Maybe. No. Yeah, I think it just kind of adds a little bit of a glow coming off of the stone. I think maybe the stone kind of needs to match the kind of purpley hue of the background, so I don't know, maybe I just need to try and tweak the colours of that. I don't know if I'm going to get away with it. No, not really. Yeah, I've definitely made it harder now. Actually, do you know what? I think I don't like that foreground element. I think I'm actually just going to leave that off and have the crystal floating here. I think I prefer that much more. And if we go to the background, we could actually change blur gallery from tilt shift, because tilt shift was really good when we had those foreground elements as well. But now I might just try just field blur and just have it floating in the center again. And then we'll darken that one up just to let the crystal stand out. I think if I was going to do this properly and I was going to spend like hours and hours kind of working on this and doing something really creative with it, I would probably like have some foreground elements, have like a castle in the background, and then jam the crystal in the castle as if it's almost crashed into it. But yeah, that would be a lot of work. Be fun though. Might do that. We'll see. Showstone. Okay, I think we're gonna leave. We'll leave the soul stone there for now. I mean, it kind of feels it is unfinished, but it's turned out all right. Like, there's so much more I would just love to do to that. But we've been going for 2 hours already, and I need to go and stand outside and get some fresh air. But I think, as with all the streams, I'm gonna finish this off and see kind of where I can take this in the end. Oh, that's quite nice. There we go. We've got a bit of noise in there as well, and we've got people's names etched onto the stone itself, which is a nice little touch. I'm happy with that. I think it is a bit too small at the minute, so I've got to at least get it to a place where it's like, yeah, this is cool. So if the background's going to be that blurred, we're going to definitely make this bigger. Do I rotate it? Don't know. I might leave it outright. Don't start messing around with rotation, Dan. Ah, it's annoying. It feels like it's just missing like one thing. I don't know what it is. I'll have to go and stare at it for hours until I can figure out exactly what that thing is. Okay, right. Maybe just a pinch of maybe it just needs a highlight just to finish it off. Let's try that. Let's see if that does anything. General brushes, soft brush. Yeah, I think it looks cool. I think it looks cool. I'll save it as a separate version just so we've got the portrait version as well. We'll call this portrait, and then I can whip up the other one as well. Yeah, backside edges need to make it more three-dimensional so it melds with the environment. Yeah, I think that's what the problem is. I kind of made the crystal on its own, and we're just literally using the generative AI to kind of dump a background in. It needs more time, really. Like, I think doing that is probably like a separate stream in itself. Like, we spent most of today actually making the kind of crystal stone thing, whatever it is itself, let alone, yeah, like this had quite a nice composition. I feel like this one kind of needs more time in the oven, so to speak. But I mean, the fact it was able to just generate that background in this foreground is, you know, it's pretty helpful. But yeah, good for conceptual stuff anyway. Like, I think the quality of what's generated needs to be really, really high. So it depends if it's kind of doing that. And then yeah, we've got the original crystal itself there, which I quite like, if I'm honest. I really do like that just on its own as a floating crystal. I think the background's kind of cool, but I love that on its own. That does look cool. But anyway, like I say, I'm probably going to just try and finish this off camera if I've got time, and I'll try and turn it into something that looks half decent. But hopefully you've enjoyed this stream. Thank you to everyone for joining. Hello, I'm back here with Bubble. Hello, Bubble. Bubble's grandma. Not to me, to my boys. To me, she is mother-in-law. I like the landscape version. Yeah, I like the landscape version as well. Yeah, that kind of worked out. But I think it was Mike was saying that the sizing just feels like it doesn't feel quite right. I don't know if the stuff in the foreground is the problem. Do you know, maybe that's it. Maybe it's just that. Maybe we just need to have that part of the foreground in focus. Like, yeah, maybe that's it. That looks a bit better, I think. And then that haze needs to go over both of them. Oh, that looks a bit better, I think. Then the stone and the foreground is a bit more in focus. That's not too bad. Not too bad. All right, let's just quickly do a smart filter here. Where are we going? I mean, I'll say it again, like, considering we started with I started with no real plan as exactly where this stream was going to go. I think it's turned out all right. You know, I think that's the important thing, is just, you know, we've made something. I think if you can at least make something every day, even if it's not great or you make a bad thing, it doesn't matter. Like, you made something. I think Sharif said he liked the pink, but we could do a little bit of pink, I suppose, just not too much. That's a bit too pink for me. Ooh, maybe color grading. Yeah, there we go. You can see I could play around with this forever. Okay, I think that's better. Right, does that look a bit better? Always enjoy these. Thanks, Dansky. You are welcome, Reese. Thank you so much for joining. You are etched onto the soul stone now. Got Great stream and inspiration for doing more creative ideas. Thank you, the thesis. Yeah, I think that's the thing. You know, I don't know. I've had fun today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I did think are people going to actually enjoy something totally just random, unscripted, artsy drawing. So I've had a really good time, and to be honest, it's given me a bit of a confidence boost as well. Like, because this started out, you know, for those of you who have just joined, everything that we've made, apart from all the kind of AI generated stuff, was based on a rock. Like, it came from just a single rock. Raimul Hassan says, Dansky, hello. Hello. It's turned out really well, says It's JT. Amazing. Paul, just joined. What are we doing here? We're wrapping up. But what we've done is we've made a crystal, all from scratch, more or less, out of a rock. I'll show you. Where are we? Yeah, so this is the rock. This is what we started with. That was what we started with, and we then turned that into this using a variety of different brushes, techniques, blending modes, colors. My goodness, look at all these layers. We then etched some of the names of people who joined the stream into the soul stone from Diablo 4. Then we tried putting it into some scenes by generating the background on the foreground with AI. I think this one turned out alright, actually. No, I don't like that. That's horrible. This one I'm actually quite happy with, especially that color grading at the end. That's turned out okay. So I think, yeah, to go from that to that in 2 hours, I'm happy with that. I'm really happy with that. Mike, looks fab. Always a good time hanging in this stream. Amazing. Don't forget, guys, we've got next Tuesday, we've got Design Review Episode 3 at 3 p.m. BST. That is the UK time. And there is a link somewhere. I think in Episode 2, there's a link in the video description if you'd like to submit your work. In fact, do you know what? I'll try and be helpful. I will find the link for you now. If you would like to submit your work, but do be quick about it, because there's loads of entries coming in, and you know, I've only got like 2 hours or so to go through everything. So if you do want me to check out your work, get it in nice and quick. What's the date today? What's the date? 15th. Okay, so this is the 20th. Copy link. Yes, if you want to submit your work, upload it here. JPEGs or master files are fine, and then I'll review it and possibly take it apart. Paul Orlandi says, wow. Oh, good. Hopefully that means you're impressed. Yeah, this was a really fun one. That color grading makes it cinematic looking. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, Mike. Like, before we did the color grade a moment ago, I was looking at it and it was just like, something feels off. And actually, all it was in the end was the blur. The blur on the foreground was way too heavy, and it just didn't feel off with the crystal, because they're both kind of in line with each other. They should be in focus. So we dialed the blur back, which looked good, and then it was just redoing that color grade again. And just adding that little bit more sort of purple in there. That's the thing, that kind of, I feel like it makes the crystal and the background, foreground all kind of hang together a bit more. But, yeah. Up on Zella says, nice work, thanks for sharing your skills. You are welcome. Reese says, I need time to go play. I'm busy fighting around with dumb client ideas. But hey, I'll stay late tonight maybe and get some time to play with the design myself. Oh, yes, I know what you mean. It's one of those things. It's like, I don't do client work anymore, but I do, obviously, teaching on YouTube and making videos and editing takes hours. And it's like, I just want to play with stuff. I want to make things. So I really do have to kind of try and set some time aside every week to kind of do stuff like this and just sort of keep my skills sharpened. Otherwise, if you just spend all the time, like if I spend all my time teaching what I know, I never have time to learn new stuff. So okay, cool, right. Amazing, brilliant. Thanks so much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the stream. As I say, next Tuesday, 3 p.m, we're going to be doing design review. That's it from me. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.